Good afternoon, I'm Joy Dube and we begin with the latest developments in the Middle East. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has met with Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei for a 2.5-hour discussion, marking the first publicly acknowledged meeting since Mujtaba Khamenei assumed leadership in March. Mujtaba succeeded his father, Ali Khamenei, following the February strikes that reportedly claimed his life. Since assuming office, Mujtaba Khamenei has largely remained out of the public eye, communicating mainly through state television statements. Analysts say the meeting signals efforts to project unity within Iran's leadership amid growing regional tensions and increasing international pressure.
We're in good shape. And now we're doing well. Now we have to get what we have to get. If we don't do that, we'll have to go a big step further. But with that being said, they want to make a deal. We've had very good talks over the last 24 hours, and it's very possible that we'll make a deal.
The United States joined Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Kuwait at the United Nations, calling for urgent Security Council action over Iran's threat to maritime traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. The appeal follows escalating tensions after Tehran warned it could disrupt oil shipments in response to sanctions and military pressure from Western nations. Gulf states, heavily dependent on the strait for crude exports, described Iran's posture as a direct threat to global energy security and international trade stability.
Well, colleague, good afternoon, and thank you for being with us today. As you're aware about the draft resolution, we saw many reports from you about it. So the Kingdom of Bahrain, and together with the United States and with the full support of Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, circulated a draft resolution earlier this week to the Security Council on the situation of Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most vital maritime corridor. The Strait of Hormuz is critical not only to the stability and the prosperity for the Gulf region, but also to the global economy. Recent developments have underscored the importance of keeping this strategic waterway safe, secure, and fully open. They have also shown the need for collective action. Building on the Security Council Historic Resolution 2817, the draft resolution calls for Iran to immediately cease all attacks and the threats against merchant and commercial vessels. The draft also addresses the placement of mines and illegal tolling in the strait. Allowing such action to become normalized is unacceptable. In addition, the draft addresses participation in the United Nations efforts to establish a humanitarian corridor in the strait.
An Iranian activist says many citizens are fearful about the prospect of a possible agreement between Washington and Tehran, describing the mood inside Iran as one of uncertainty and deep concern. According to the activist, many residents believe a temporary deal may fail to address long-standing political and economic challenges facing the country. The activist further claimed that many Iranians are calling for broader political change rather than a limited diplomatic agreement. The remarks come amid ongoing negotiations and increasing international debate over the future direction of Iran and its relationship with the West. Pope Leo XIV hosted U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the Vatican City in a high-level diplomatic engagement between the Holy See and Washington. The meeting took place against the backdrop of ongoing global diplomatic efforts and international security concerns. While officials did not immediately disclose the full agenda, observers say the discussions likely touched on peace efforts, humanitarian issues, and broader international cooperation.
Of course, plant of peace. There's the coat of arms here of pontificate here, but brands. And this is just we in Chicago call it coffee table pals here, different works of art that you can use paintings by Raffaello and other classic artists that contain this.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? And he has carried many people, no? This is the king.
Ponerlo ahí para que no se me pierda.
Usted ha visto que usted tiene 4 hijos.
Donald Trump said Pakistan urged the United States to refrain from launching attacks on Iran amid rising tensions in the region. Speaking to reporters, Trump stated that Islamabad conveyed its concerns during recent diplomatic exchanges surrounding the Middle East crisis. Trump also noted that fuel prices were declining rapidly, linking the development to broader geopolitical dynamics and ongoing negotiations. However, he did not provide further details regarding Pakistan's request or any formal U.S. response.
Mr. President, why was that suspended?
Because the really wonderful leadership at the place, as you know, Pakistan has been fantastic, and their leaders have been fantastic. The Field Marshal and the Prime Minister, and they asked us not to do it. We'll go back to it if we have to. They asked us not to do it during the negotiation.
Are you considering maybe going back to that now that gas prices are?
It could, well, no, gas prices have come down today. Have you looked? They've come down very substantially today. The gas prices, you know what's happened today? Gas prices are way down, and the stock market is way up today. So gas prices have come down, and I saw today that they broke negatively. In other words, to our positive position, they broke our way very substantially. And when the war is over, gas will fall down at levels that you've never seen before. You'll be down to where you were, maybe even lower. We had it down to, I was in Iowa, and we were at 85, or about 85. What did you say? Yeah, we broke it. We broke it. We had numbers that nobody's seen in a long time. So you had $2 a gallon. We were down, I think you were $1.85, $1.90 in Iowa and a lot of other places. Outside of California, where California charges such a high tax on the gasoline, when you take that tax off, but California has a tremendous, I don't know if anybody knows, California was the third largest area for oil, and you were telling me, and Chris was telling me before, we're talking about California oil. California is like an oil, it's rich with oil, but stupidly, 15, 16, 17 years ago, people stopped drilling. It was third to Texas and another state, probably Oklahoma, but
And that's all the breaking news updates for now. Be sure to stay connected with any of our LoveWorld networks as we bring you ongoing updates and the latest developments from the Middle East. And now we move right into more updates from around the globe. Let's take a look at some headlines. Sudan accuses UAE and Ethiopia over Khartoum drone strikes. Zambia says U.S. health cooperation must remain separate from minerals access. Germantown prepares for end of decades-long U.S. troop presence. Egypt expands cargo corridor with Italy amid Gulf tensions. Sudan has accused both Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates of involvement in recent drone strikes on Khartoum, including an attack that reportedly targeted the capital's international airport. Ethiopia has rejected the allegations, describing them as baseless, while the UAE has not yet issued an official response. The accusations come amid worsening instability in Sudan, where conflict continues to fuel humanitarian concerns and regional tension. Analysts warn that the claims could further strain diplomatic relations across the Horn of Africa and the Gulf region.
Today, we present to our good people and the regional and international public opinion a set of documented evidence proving the involvement of the United Arab Emirates and Ethiopia in the aggression against Sudan. This constitutes a serious violation of our country's sovereignty and a blatant breach of international law. Data from the drone was analyzed, and we asked the manufacturer, and they said what follows. The drone, number S88, owned by the UAE, and was launched from within Ethiopian territory, Bahir Dar Airport. 2026, air hostile attacks started with 3 drones from Ethiopia's Bahir Dar Airport on White Nile State, Blue Nile State, and North and South Kordofan states. On March 17, 2026, one of these drones was dealt with and shot down.
Zambia says any health cooperation agreement with the United States must remain separate from discussions surrounding mineral access and strategic resources. Officials stressed that public health partnerships should not be tied to negotiations involving copper, cobalt, or other critical minerals. The remarks follow reports that Washington is seeking broader partnerships with several African nations involving healthcare investment initiatives alongside strategic resource agreements. Zambian authorities reiterated their commitment to maintaining sovereignty over national resources while welcoming genuine health sector support. More stories are coming up after this short break. Stay with us.
Pastor Star, and I'm here to share with you tips and tricks so you can get the most out of your King's Chat. Did you know that King's Chat rates every single post you make live on the timeline? So every time you make a post, King's Chat gives it a value to determine how far it goes and how many timelines it reaches. And with every like, comment and reshare, your score goes up, meaning it appears on more people's timelines. So whenever you make a post, make sure you share with your friends and your family, get them to engage with the content, because it shows us at King's Chat that wow, this is something that users want to see, and therefore we'll push it more onto other people's timelines. Have a lovely time at Kinging on King's Chat. See you!
House Speaker Mike Johnson marked the National Day of Prayer with remarks emphasizing faith and prayer as foundational elements of American identity. Speaking during the observance, Johnson highlighted the role of spiritual values in national life and leadership. The event brought together political and faith leaders from across the country with calls for unity, prayer, and moral responsibility amid ongoing social and political challenges in the United States.
The formal National Day of Prayer. Now, prayer's been a part of our DNA since the very beginning, as you know, so it's fitting that we do this. This formal tradition, as you know, was established by Congress at the height of the Cold War, and it reaffirms something that's so important that really goes to the heart of who we are as Americans. We are a praying nation. We always have been. It truly is part of who we are. We know that prayer is where the impossible happens. We know it's where we find solace and stay anchored in our faith, even through challenges and even through the storms. And that is indeed how we have endured. It's fitting that we're here in the beautiful Statuary Hall, which, as you all know, was the original House chamber. It's fitting that as you walk around the Capitol here, and we're so happy to welcome you today, that you'll see vestiges, reminders of the deep religious heritage of our country. You'll see reminders of our deep Judeo-Christian traditions, our foundations, our biblical foundations. That's what makes America unique and extraordinary. Just about 100 feet or so here, if you went through the rotunda and took a left, and you would go down the hallway where my office is, the Speaker's office, on one side. On the other side is the Senate Majority Leader's office. And right in the middle of that is a chapel that was erected about the same time, built and established there about the same time as the National Day of Prayer became a formal piece of our law. And as you walk in there, many of you have been in there before, I invite you to go visit it. Your eyes will be drawn up to this beautiful original stained glass piece. It's one of a kind. I think it's the most beautiful I've ever seen. And in that stained glass, right in the center, is depicted the father of our country, George Washington. He is humbled before the Lord down on one knee. And he's praying, and it says the words surrounding him are from Psalm 16:1. And it says, "Preserve me, O God, for in thee do I put my trust." Preserve me. That's what the father of our country said. That's what we still echo today. And of course, that
Germany's parliament saw heated exchanges as members of the Alternative for Germany criticized Chancellor Friedrich Merz over his government's policies. The AfD lawmakers accused the administration of pursuing measures they claim are damaging to Germany's economy and national interests. The debate also focused on Germany's continued support for Ukraine and broader European policies. Political analysts say tensions within German politics are intensifying as economic and security concerns remain central issues for voters.
Ladies and gentlemen, the German people have already delivered their verdict. After just 1 year in government, they rate Friedrich Merz more catastrophically than any chancellor in the entire history of the Republic. Across the Western world, there is no head of government whom their own population considers so dishonest, so unpopular, so incapable. There is only one reason for this. Friedrich Merz cannot do the job. And with his government, nothing more can be achieved. He came to office promising fiscal discipline, tax cuts, an end to what he called left-green climate ideology, and a halt to migration. Merz said, and I quote, "The left is over, an end to the left-wing extremists." The demands were correct. They were our demands. That is why there has always been a majority in this parliament for such a policy since the Bundestag election. But instead of using that majority, Friedrich Merz has for a year been cooperating precisely with those he once called left-wing extremists.
Accordingly, support for Chancellor Merz is also falling dramatically. Only 13% of people still think he's doing well, an absolute low. The disappointment, in any case, is enormous. The left is over, Merz said before the election. After the election, The country is now being governed from the left, led by the small party SPD. Klingbeil and Baas are setting the direction towards decline, and all the promises made before the election have been thrown overboard. Before the election, Merz said that 1 trillion euros in tax revenues should be sufficient. After the election, a spending spree of trillions in debt, which even our grandchildren will still be paying off.
Merz.
A town in Germany is preparing for the departure of long-serving U.S. troops, ending a military presence that has shaped the local community for decades. Since the Cold War, American bases have contributed to the local economy through employment, trade, and cultural exchange. Residents and officials are now assessing the impact of the withdrawal, with some viewing it as an opportunity for redevelopment, while others worry about the economic consequences of losing a long-standing military presence. Ferdinand Marcos Jr. opened the Asian 2026 plenary session with a warning about escalating tensions in the Middle East and growing concerns over global energy security. He stressed that geopolitical instability could directly affect Southeast Asia's economic resilience. Marcos Jr. called for stronger regional cooperation to address external shocks, urging Asian members to coordinate strategies that protect supply chains, maintain stability, and strengthen energy security across the region.
We meet at a defining moment for our region and the global community. The international geopolitical landscape continues to be marked by uncertainty and heightened geopolitical tensions, particularly by the grave situation in the Middle East. ASEAN has expressed serious concern over the escalation of conflict due to the preemptive attacks initiated by Israel and the United States against the Islamic Republic of Iran on February 28, 2026, and the subsequent retaliatory attacks by Iran against several countries in the region. These developments have disrupted maritime and air transport routes, heightened risks to merchant and non-combatant vessels and aircraft, and affected the flow of energy and essential goods. Against this backdrop, we come together guided by ASEAN's long-standing commitment to peace and the collective positions expressed by each ASEAN member state. The immediate cessation of hostilities, the peaceful settlement of disputes, the protection of civilians and civilian infrastructure, and the restoration of safe, unimpeded, and continuous transit passage in the Strait of Hormuz. For ASEAN, these challenges are deeply felt by our people through higher living costs, supply disruptions, threatened livelihoods, economic strain, growing vulnerability, both in our homelands and amongst our nationals in the Middle East. It is a stark reminder that in an increasingly uncertain world, we call for our collective action, and it has never been more urgent. So we must continue to uphold the principles of ASEAN centrality and solidarity and pursue practical cooperation. For this, I thank you for answering the call, underscoring the importance and urgency.
Up next is your business news. African governments and exporters are positioning themselves to benefit from China's new zero tariff regime, which grants duty-free access to products from 53 African countries. Officials believe the policy could significantly boost exports of agricultural and manufactured goods. Trade ministries across the continent are now reviewing logistics and compliance requirements to help exporters meet Chinese market demand. Economists say the initiative could strengthen Africa-China trade ties while creating new opportunities for industrial growth. Egypt has announced measures to strengthen its cargo corridor with Italy, positioning the route as a secure trade alternative amid concerns over shipping disruptions in the Gulf region. Officials say the expanded corridor will facilitate increased trade in energy products, manufactured goods, and agricultural exports between North Africa and Europe. Italian partners welcomed the initiative, describing it as an important step towards stabilizing supply chains and diversifying logistics routes. Here's a recap on the headlines. Sudan accuses UAE and Ethiopia over Khartoum drone strikes. Zambia says U.S. Health Corporation must remain separate from minerals access. Germantown prepares for end of decades-long U.S. troop presence. Egypt expands cargo corridor with Italy amid Gulf tensions. And that concludes our 2 p.m. news updates for today. Thank you for watching. This is Lawal Set and my name is Joy Dube. Have a great afternoon and goodbye for now.